Hey guys, this is going to be another video about data types and variables in processing. All right, we did the primitive data types. It's the same program from before. We did all the math and stuff in here, and we did the print line. Okay, I want to show you more about the print line, and I'm going to show you some things about these variables. Okay, so I'm going to take the booleans off of here. We don't really need the booleans. I can just comment them out for now. So here's what I'm going to do is comment them out at the bottom. I mean, we're not really using them right now anyway, so not a big deal. All right, so back at the top, we got int score is 5, int lives is 4, and high score is 300 million. Okay, 30 million, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. No, 300 million. So what we want to do is I want to show you how some of this stuff is going to work. Let's say we have an integer variable. You can change data types into other data types. Okay, you just got to do it properly. Say you have an integer variable and it's a whole number, but you want to actually make it into a decimal number. Okay, so there's a few things you can do. All right. First thing you can do is create that variable. Let's say create variable high is equal to high score. Watch what happens here. Okay, so we go down here. So we have a float variable high and it's set to high score. So I just want to print, I'm going to put print line, I want to print high. Okay, the only thing I want to see right now is high. So I'm going to comment all the print lines out from before and see if that works. Got my letter down at the bottom. Here we go. All right. So if I run this, I should just see. There it is. Okay. So high is equal to high score. We got 3.0. E to the 8th means 3 with 8 zeros behind it. Okay. That's what it means. So that's what we're printing out the high score. Now, let's say we want to change the high score. So we don't want to create a whole new variable for that. Okay, we want to use the same one. So what we can do is instead of doing that line, we can do this. We're going to print out high score. Okay, but instead of printing out high score like it is, we want to print it out as a float. Okay, so here I put in parentheses and I'm saying make my high score a float please, and then print it out. So it's printing out 3.0 times e to the 8th. Same thing. Okay, let's see how else we can do it. Let's say you got a float variable and you just call it time and you set it to 425, let's say. Okay, time is set to 425, but instead of, so you want to go out and print it out, right? But instead of printing it out just like that, you want to actually print out just the whole number of it. Let's say you just want to make it an integer. Instead of being a float, you want to make it an integer. So you're going to put int in parentheses before the name of that variable, and it's going to turn that variable into an integer value. Just the number 4 gets printed out down there. So this is called casting. Casting, like fishing or something like that. Casting is changing one data type into another. Okay, changing one data type into another. Okay, so that's how you do that. You put the data type in parentheses before the name of the variable, and it'll do that. Okay, so I'm going to go down to the bottom where we have our char variables. Remember our letter variable? I added 2 to it, and it usually printed out the letter V because TUV. Remember the letter V right there. Let's say I don't want it to print out the letter V. I want it to print out the actual number. So I go in and I cast my letter as an integer variable. I go in and cast it as an integer variable, and then I run it again. And instead of printing out V this time, it's going to print out a number, and it prints out the number 86. You see that right there? So you can cast that char variable into an int variable if you want to do that there. Okay? Casting is going to come into handy quite a bit when we start using the random method to give you a random number. Okay. One other thing I wanted to say in this video before we finish is division. Okay. Let's go back up to the top to the integer variables score. So I want to use score again. No, let's do lives this time. Okay, lives is 4 up here at the top. Okay, lives is 4. So let's just go in here somewhere right under printing score, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to say lives. I'm going to divide it and equal, so I want to divide it by, let's see, so lives is 4, but I want to divide it by 2.0. Okay, remember what I said before about integer division? So if the two operators on both sides of this division sign are integers, then it's going to return you an integer. It's not going to return you a decimal number no matter what you do. So the exception to that rule is if there is a decimal on either side, is going to return a decimal. Okay, so it's going to return a decimal. If you have a division and you're dividing by a decimal, it's going to return you a decimal. So lives is 4 divided by 2.0. It stores it back into the lives variable, so then it only gives you the number 2. Okay, so it only gives you the number 2. Let's see. So we're dividing it and we're storing it back into the variable lives. Okay, so this, remember the shortcut is essentially this equals lives divided by 2.0, right? This is what it essentially is. So what's happening is it's saying lives divided by 2.0, and that gives you 4 divided by 2.0 is actually 2.0, and then it stores it back into the lives variable, which is an integer, so it drops the decimal off and it just returns you the number 2. So if you actually wanted to see the 2.0, here's what you do. You would take lives. Let's just comment this line out so we can see it. Lives is 4, right? So we're going to do in here lives divided by 2.0 inside the print line, and that's going to print us out our number. Okay, so it's 2.0. You see that right there? Lives divided by 2.0. So anything you divide with a decimal, let's say we divide 4 by 1.5. So 4 lives divided by 1.5 is going to give us a decimal number, which is 2.6 repeating 7. Okay, see that? So if you have a float on either side of this division operator, then it's going to return you a float. Okay, even if you multiply, let's say 2.5 times lives. 2.5 times lives, we're just going to print that out. So it's going to return us a decimal number. The decimal number is 10. Okay, so it's 10. It's going to return us a decimal number because we're saying multiply 2.5 times. Of course, it's going to give us what we want there. Okay, so that's a little bit about the division again, how you change a float to an int and vice versa, and a little bit about casting. Okay, guys, casting is going to come in handy. Learn how to do that. All you do is you put the data type that you want in parentheses before the name of the variable. Okay, remember that. We're going to see that again coming up pretty soon when we do the random numbers. Okay, all right, guys. Until next time, we'll see ya.